It is December 6th, 2023. This is a special meeting of the Darien Parks and Recreation Commission, calling it to order. We do have a quorum. I know Janet Kling plans to join us. We expect she'll be in shortly. So this evening we're here to have further discussions on the Cherry Lawn Playground redevelopment. We've had a tremendous amount of public input over the last few days, lots of letters, both in support and not in support. So we'll be talking about, what we've heard, additional information from Susan, and then take a vote and see where we are. So I'm going to ask Susan first to give some updates. As everybody knows, she has been chairing this effort, which has been going on for 10 months or so.
Well, we started with McGuan, so that was a while ago. That was last year.
That was last year, but I'm talking,
yeah.
Okay, so I'll turn it over. Yeah. Turn it over to Susan.
Pam, will you share your screen with the presentation? Oops, sorry. I gotta minimize myself here. Hold on. There you go. I kind of wanted to start by thanking the Playground Working Group. Though we did not always agree, I still appreciate and heard all of your feedback that was provided. I want to thank John Hollaback and Pam Geary for doing the lion's share of the work. It's really been impossible to do without you. Last but not least, I wanted to thank my fellow commissioners for bearing with me as we continue the work of finalizing Cherry Lawn Playground project. It definitely hasn't been for the faint of heart, but I'm lucky to have an even more daunting task of teaching my teenager to drive. So I'm not as frightened by everything anymore. Pam, can you go to the next slide? Next one after that, I'm sorry. Since our last commission meeting in November, we had 3 additional Playground Working Group meetings. And I've also solicited feedback from different sources for more information to get community feedback. The next slide, Pam, please. Do you mind hitting it again? Yep. So in terms of equipment on the 2 to 5, the only spot that we did change was the whirl or the spinner, and we decided to go with another product, and that was agreed for by the committee at our last meeting. It resulted in a lower cost, and also we did reduce some of the pour and play in that section. So now we're at about 2,500 square feet here. We confirmed the decking color, which was going to be brown to match the existing playground structures that are there. So as you know, the 2 kind of closest, I guess, to the right that are green and blue are existing. So we're just matching what is already there. Pam, could you go to the next slide? For the 5 and 12, we removed the Ninja Wall and the pirouette spinners. We also finalized the color at our last meeting, but we did leave them as add-ons if we do get additional funding secured. And the pour and play in this section is still 1,200 square feet. Now on to the budget. Oh, sorry, Pam, I meant to add, yeah, so that's where the Ninja Wall that we had proposed was supposed to be. And if you hit it again, Pam, this was where the pirouette spinners were originally when I showed it to the commission at the last meeting. So just wanted to show you where they're not there anymore. In terms of our budget, we stayed within budget of the $500,000, and the actual cost was going to be $4,461, excuse me, with a contractor discount that brought it to $500,000, which is covered by the ARPA grant that we've been awarded. This includes the entire cost of the playground, except for the ADA walkway and patio, which we actually pulled out because we wanted to save some of the budget to actually provide equipment for the 5 to 12 and this 2 to 5 play areas. And we also felt that, as you know, I'm a veteran of playground fundraisers. And we felt that a lot of the residents in town were saying, wow, we missed out on, getting a break at Playground by the Sound or Park Pals at Cherry Lawn. So we decided this would be a great way to kind of boost community involvement. So that's that's at a cost about $32,000. And I'm working with someone to co-chair that so that we can raise that money independent with the town's with community involvement. Sorry, you could go back. Go back to the other. Yeah, thanks, Pam. This is for the cost of doing 2 playgrounds that are each over 8,000 square feet in size, which is quite large, and about almost 4,000 square feet in pour and play. Just by comparison, because this is the last playground I did for Playground by the Sound about 14 years ago, we did it for $250,000 and a far smaller structure, and only 2 actually, and with about 20 square feet in pour and play. So the pricing was very good. We got very fortunate with the pricing here. Pam, do you want to speak to the contingency that you and John, our playground vendor, spoke about, just about possibly if there's about
Sure.
budgets? And
So, like for instance, with McGuan Playground, we did not have a contingency in place because we were installing a playground over a playground that was already existing. So typically, John said in his 34 years, he's only had a contingency in place maybe 5 times. And that's due to the fact that if they're constructing on land that has not previously been used as a playground, because then they are suspect of what might be underneath the ground and that they don't know about. So they would put a contingency in place. In this case, same thing exists. We are using the same landscape. We're only using one little corner that we are jutting out that he doesn't seem to have any problems with and doesn't fear that there'll be any issues. So therefore, a contingency was not put in place. And our invoice is $500,000, and that's exactly what we are installing.
thank you, Pam. Let's go on to the next slide, which is the process. Oh, thank you. You're there. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I know that we talked about this a lot at our last meeting, but I'll go over it again because we have a lot of new people on. We had 18 playground working group meetings since 2023, and I was amazed to find out only 3 other boards in Darien had more meetings than us in 2023. And in fact, other boards that were doing building projects and other large things in town had fewer. So I felt like we had a pretty robust group of meetings. Also, as you recall, I had mentioned that the playground working group had unanimously, oh my God, I can't speak, decided to approve the playground in October with this current vendor, and really loved the design and even said things like, no brainer, this is great. We actually had a very quick meeting, which I was very surprised about. We had 3 more meetings after that. And at that point, I could feel like we didn't have a full consensus anymore. So I came to the commission on November 15th with the express idea to find out if what direction we should take, and especially the 5 to 12 area, because I felt like there was a lot of disagreement there. And we had a very robust conversation. I think it was 2 hours long. I provided all the details. I took whatever I could to give you the current state of what was going on in my playground. But at the end of the day, it was really came down to what are we going to do the 5 to 12 area. So we decided as a commission, in a sense of the meeting, with a majority, to focus on to create a playground in the 5 to 12 area that was targeted to our target group, which is 5 to 12, and that we would go with the design that the committee had originally approved. I went back to the playground working group and reported the decision and asked that they help us finish the final design for this playground. We had 3 more meetings after that. And as you know, I've reported on what was decided at those meetings in terms of changes. In terms of oversight, we came back to the commission about 8 times, just giving them quick statuses about what was going on with the committee. In terms of transparency, most, if not all of our meetings were public and recorded. We did have a couple of meetings that were on site or at town hall when we were looking at plans that, because of technology, we could not record, but we did have a consensus at those meetings in terms of the direction that the playground was going in. For competition, we did invite, Pam was good enough to invite 6 vendors to bid. 4 bids that finally did come in. But when we were developing our, trying to make our decision, we also considered things, not only design, which was a huge factor, but we also thought about customer service and how the vendors were getting back to us and how responsive they were. That was really important to us because we knew that Cherry Lawn was going to be a big project, and we wanted to make sure that it would be done in a timely process for our residents. In terms of flexibility, our vendor at the end came in with about 10 different plan revisions, at least, if not more. I think I lost count, and he did too. From an education point of view, just in terms of that plan revision, those are all on a Google Doc document that I created to kind of start gathering feedback and also record all the different plans. And I think right now it's at 125 pages. It's on a Google Doc on Google Drive. In addition to that, we also had a Google photo album where we recorded a lot of the videos and pictures that people took in our committee, so that we had them also in a nice central location for everybody to view. Education, site visits in Darien and to neighboring town comparables, including the town that has the existing structure. Can you go to the next slide, Pam? So our vendor has 34 years experience. He's a certified playground professional, and he actually went to college for parks and recreation, which I didn't realize existed. And he has 3 full-time installation crews, and he's done projects all over Connecticut. I said, and Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And I said to him, what towns in particular? He's like, you're better off asking me what towns I haven't done a project in. So he's done things locally in Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Hartford. I couldn't even fit it in the page after a while, so I stopped taking notes, but he's done numerous and many within the last 2 years. So that was very reassuring. He also, when he works with us, he has to follow all these industry standards, and including the International Playground Equipment Manufacturers Association certifications, which is done by a third party so that they know that their products are safe for consumer use. And Miracle has been in business since 1927. So this is definitely not a fly-by-night organization. In addition, I skipped over that he has 3 full-time crews constantly working in his coverage area, and they are putting in playgrounds all the time, all around the area, and no safety issues that he could cite from those. I also wanted to, at this point, talk about Pam Geary, our Fearless director, who has been doing this for 27 years, has worked in 3 other towns, has built numerous playgrounds in all of those towns she's worked in. And she even had the pleasure of doing a community build and everything from start to finish, fundraising, actually doing the build, which I was very impressed about. So I thought that was amazing. I just also wanted to, if people don't know, I did Playground by the Sound many years ago. I was the co-chair. I was also on the Weed Beach Building Committee, which was part of that. So I myself have served on the commission for over 16 years and have some experience in a lot of different things. Anyway, next slide. Okay, negative feedback, the meat of it. As you know, we did receive some negative feedback from inside the committee and outside. And I have to be honest, we listened to everything. I mean, I have right here, all the letters that were sent in the last 48 hours, I want to say. And they were numerous, and I printed it out because I really wanted to read them and highlight them and really internalize what everybody was saying. So I do want to thank everybody, especially on this call, that did provide feedback. I definitely personally listened to it, and I know my fellow commissioners did, because we take our job very seriously. So the first item I'm going to talk about is need. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of feedback on need, and I have to tell you that all the letters we received today were very gratifying, because they were overwhelmingly positive letters from the target group for this playground. So I'm talking about families that are in the 5 to 12 age range. It was letter after letter that was for this project. And I'm going to read some of them later, but I just wanted to mention that in a general way now. Many of the families said they want more unstructured play for their kids and for their entire family, siblings, and everybody else. So that's really important. We did get one letter from someone that was against the playground in the target group. I just have to be fair. So, in terms of being full disclosure. So that's where I got. In terms of, I guess I heard a lot of feedback about the bucolic nature of Cherry Lawn. And, I love that word, and I've only seen it in very few places, but I honestly can't ever imagine everybody saying that about Cherry Lawn. As you all know, Cherry Lawn is full of children, happy voices, playing soccer, baseball, tennis, basketball, pickleball. We have a community garden. We have the Darien Nature Center, which is basically a preschool, and a pond and a gazebo. Last but not least, we also have playgrounds. I mean, I honestly believe that as a commission, we need to make sure that this keeps on going. And with all that activity, it is filled with life. Everybody's rambunctious. It's alive. So I have to say, when I saw that, I was, there are parts that I could see it being quiet sometimes, but for the most part, the park is not bucolic, and that we are fortunate enough in Darien to have 2 nature preserves and numerous land trust properties that where that they can find that bucolic nature. In terms of an aesthetics point of view, I'm sorry, I have to close the door. I have teenagers that walked in. Sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I still have young children, not in the target age range, so they can be very loud. Anyway, from aesthetics, we did find that, a lot of people cited height as an issue. And as you know, I shared with the commission renderings done of the actual play structure in, Cherry Lawn. And with the 80 plus foot trees, you could see that the scale was it fit the park. And we also showed it to a lot of different residents, and some of their feedback is going to be further later on. But I felt that the commission was comfortable with the height and how it fit, especially with all those trees that surround it. It fit really nicely. The other thing that people cited was color. And, I guess as a committee, we were saying children's respond best to color. I mean, they're drawn to it. So if we were going for a kid-friendly play space, the color is important. The other thing is that the 5 to 12 structure is the same color as existing playground equipment that is already there in the 2 to 5 range. So we definitely wanted to keep matching that if possible, because otherwise it would look very different and wouldn't fit the playground space.
Susan, can I add one thing?
Yeah, sure.
So just back to aesthetics, I just wanted to mention one thing, was that when we talk about the top of the playground unit being within those 80-foot trees, people need to understand that when people are throwing around the ceiling of 28 feet of the top of it, you can't enter that or play up there. The only area on that deck between the towers is only 14 feet. The other is just the design and the wow factor of the design. When you enter and see this unit that's just, a beautifully well designed but exciting unit. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Pam. I think what we heard that kids like to feel like they're up in the air and elevated, as that's why they climb trees. They climb everything in town, it seems, but it was a safe way to have that feeling of height without the danger of it, because it's fully enclosed and you can't even climb up there because the enclosure is designed in a way that your fingers may fit through it, but there's no way to scale it. The other thing is that the blue is obviously our town colors, and we found that a lot of the towns that did install this used their town colors as the way to kind of color their playground. So just as an aside, our color happens to be blue, so that fits that. Also, the blue roof faces the trees, so you don't really see them from any other side. The only thing you do see is you might see the blue posts, and the rest of it is black, as you know. And all of us who have pools know that we put black fences around our pools because it kind of disappears and you don't have to look at them. So that's another thing. And I had one comment from someone that said, wow, it's the same color as the sky. So that was interesting. So I guess in a way, when the skies are blue, it blends in. Let's see. Next was process. I think I addressed that above. Budget was above. Now we're going to safety. So for safety, honestly, even with the playground working group, that's always been our first priority. And I know it's a commission priority all the time. At every meeting, we discussed it. And the design that we had, I just explained to you that John has to be certified. He's a professional. I think he even said to me, his program where he designs won't even let him do certain things for safety reasons. There's like safety locks. So he couldn't put like a slide next to a swing or something. I just that was really interesting how computers could do that. So I explained that it's certified by IPMA. And Pam just clarified that the deck is 14 feet off the ground and that the tower ceiling is 14 feet, but it's also angled. So that is not fully 14 feet all around. It's also fully enclosed, as everybody knows, with the wiring that we just mentioned. This playground, similar playground, is actually in Orange, Connecticut, and it's in a variety of, it's in Colorado, Minnesota, Missouri, Delaware. Pam actually reached out to a bunch of people and there were no safety concerns, I think, Pam, right? And the one in Orange even has its own Facebook group. If you want to Google it, it has only positive comments like, can't wait to bring my kid back. And one of them asked if they needed a park permit to use it, which I thought was, wow, they really want to go in there and visit. Their cover page actually presents with preschoolers hanging around on the bridge, which is also 14 feet off the ground, just to talk about safety. And when our committee members, went to visit the one in Orange, they witnessed really young children able to navigate it and just walk through. So it was safe because it's fully enclosed, even though it's 14 feet up on the ground. You should go to this. Can you go to the safety block? Sorry, I skipped that for some reason. I'm sorry, Pam. You should be at the next slide. Sorry. I'm busy looking at my notes. There you go. Okay. So you see all the certifications, they're right there again. Also, as I explained, we hired John, who is a professional playground designer. So very happy with him. Pam, do you want to add anything else to safety? I think we talked as a committee about it for a long time and everybody seemed to be, I'm not concerned about the safety. Would you say?
The committee for the whole committee, that was never an issue. I don't know why this is coming up now because that's never been an issue throughout the whole process of safety. And it is fully enclosed. There are 2 towers on either side. There's slides just like our other playgrounds. And so again, I'm not certain where that's coming up now because in the 9 months we've been meeting, it's never been an issue.
I agree. next slide is about feedback. So I'm just going to go over, you got to bear with me. We're getting a lot of we got a lot of feedback on all day today. So I'm trying to fit it all in and do justice to some of it. And I know all of this was received by the commission, but I just want to say some of it in for public consumption so that it's easier for them to understand what other feedback we're considering when making a decision for the playground. So the first, when I saw that aesthetics and just the whole natural thing was being, kind of questioned, I reached out to Chris Filmer and met with him twice and actually talked to him and then walked the area with him for an hour recently. And he had some great ideas, and I just wanted to share some of what he said to me. And I admire what he's done in town for so many people. And I just thought that if anybody had a good, like the natural feel, I wanted to get his input because I myself happen to lean towards that way. And I just needed another person to talk to about it. So his quote was, "But in order to be successful, that fun area must attract the target group and do its job of providing an exciting but safe experience. What I saw seemed to fit the bill." I walked the park with Chris, and instead of being, I guess, put off by the design, the color, or anything, I was surprised. Actually, he said, "Blue is the same color as the sky." He's the one that said it to me when I told him the playground structure was blue. And he said he saw an opportunity for more kids of different ages to enjoy the park. And he actually suggested that this idea while we were walking, and I was so surprised because he's done more in terms of building really great things for kids than of anybody I know. And he said, "The removal of invasives along the eastern boundary of the lawn provides an opportunity for us to build an interesting nature trail with a rewarding destination. Starting from the existing lawn, it could wind its way south through the woods towards the pond, past newly planted friendly shrubs, to the existing unused arched stone bridge. Those who choose to cross the bridge are rewarded by reaching a secret island, ringed with colorful native plants and shrubs, and fresh new view of our active pond." I just thought that for me sounded really lovely. And I just was amazed that he would even come up with such a great idea, because as many of you know, we now have a great area that's where a lot of the invasive weeds were removed. And he saw an opportunity to kind of engage, hopefully, these kids into connecting with nature. We both talked about how even when you're playing at a playground, sometimes you like to do different things. And as many of you know, this area is right adjacent to the playground. So what an amazing opportunity and a great idea. So I was very pleased to hear that. I also got some feedback from realtors because they're kind of the eyes and ears of a lot of people in town. So I'm going to read a couple of things I got from them. "I am currently a realtor in town raising 2 children in Darien. I enjoyed bringing my kids to Cherry Lawn Park, but sadly, they aged out of it around 8 years old. The proposed playground offers diverse experiences for kids at different heights, which is so fun. My kids thought it looked awesome and both said they would be happy to play on it now, 11 and 13. Although the colors may be off-putting to me, as they are bright, boring adult, my kids loved that they were bright and fun. This is what playgrounds should be, so I appreciate that perspective. I like the platforms are totally enclosed and will prevent children from falling and injury. There are different types of kinesthetic experiences, jumping, sliding, climbing, swinging, etc., so that all kids can do something they enjoy. I also appreciate that the ground will be much more forgiving, rubber surfacing for our kids' bodies. We already know it's a popular amenity in Orange, Connecticut, with no reported accidents. So although this feels like a playground of the future, it has been tested and is verifiably loved by the kids and parents who get to enjoy it there. As with any improvement to the town, this is the selling point to moving to Darien. A fantastic new playground is going to attract new families and make current families raving fans of yet another amenity in our amazing town. This was the second one. As I move in people into the community, they are coming with a variety of different aged kids. When I finish showing clients houses that have younger children, I always recommend that they take their kids to Wheat Beach to get their yayas out before they make the trek back to New York City. Having a place for older kids is important in our town. Cherry Lawn is a natural location in my book, as I find that most of the kids that use the playground often have older siblings playing baseball, soccer, or of an age where they can enjoy something a little more strenuous that is still safe. I also had we got a lot of letters from the Target group. I wanted to reach out to express my support on the plans to replace the bigger kids playground at Cherry Lawn. I saw some of the renderings and it looks great. The current playground definitely needs an upgrade as some of its parts are falling apart and could be dangerous to those who are using it. My children aged 5 to 9, time flies, have aged out of most of the Darien playgrounds. I was so excited to learn that a larger, more age-appropriate park was being proposed at Cherry Lawn. Since getting kids outside and getting away from screens has become increasingly hard, a new park that safely allows them to play would be welcome addition to the town, especially the preteens that need it most. All mental health professionals agree that children need more free play and less sports. A few features of the plan stuck out at me, and I want to highlight. It is a place where younger and older children can play. For children of different ages and abilities, it's great to have a place where all their needs are met. 2, the colors of the equipment seem to match some of the newer existing equipment. That is my understanding, and that they'll be trying to keep. 3, it is inclusive. I have children with ADHD and other sensory learning needs, and I love to see accessible swings as well as various play equipments designed for the various forms of sensory inputs that kids crave and need. I am emailing my support for the Cherry Lawn playground structure. I was born and raised in Darien and have spent a lot of time in my almost 40 years at many of our parks, including Cherry Lawn. While there has been significant improvements made to the park, the playground is outdated and old and is really in need of an overhaul. I have 3 young kids that are 7, 6, and 3, and we spend quite a lot of time at Cherry Lawn. And I know we will be spending more time there for years to come. I fully support the new structure and saw a rendering of the new playground. It is beautiful, inviting, adventurous, and most importantly, safe. Next person was a family therapist. She actually practices in Darien, and she's a well-regarded speaker on many tween topics, and she's author of a tween parenting book. Who are you, and what have you done with my kid? Her name is Amanda Craig. She's a local parent of a 4- and 7-year-old, and she's on the Darien Depot Mental Health Advisory Board, the Darien Nature Center social service consultant, and she's also on the town sustainability committee. So my professional work centers around emotional health of kids and families, and my passion projects are around earth, health, and nature. I was so excited to see the new McGuan playground. I coached 2nd grade softball this fall, and before practice and games, the kids would play on the playground, and after they would play again. What a pleasure it was to share a new playground with our other communities. Imagine competing during a game and then playing together after. My favorite part, though, I often had middle school kids help me coach. And when we finished, they would saunter over to the swings or push the kids on swings and chase them around the structure. There isn't enough for our tweens to do in town. That is free play. She also said, play with the little edge. Playing with the little edge helps kids build confidence and resilience. When kids are able to explore new areas, textures, speeds, and use their thinking cap and their large and small muscles, they feel good about themselves. They experience fun, joy, and they create stories and adventures that are more to daydream and to do new things. As they get older, think tweens, they are more likely to take risks in tough social situations because they have experienced doing hard things and living through it and or being successful. These kids are more often to include a kid left out and raise their hand in class. This is a clinical psychologist. I am a clinical psychologist and Darien community member writing in support of the proposal to build a new playground at Cherry Lawn Park. My spouse and I moved over our 2 young girls 4 years and 18 months to Darien because of the high level and high quality educational and enrichment opportunities that this community and town have to offer. We feel fortunate to be able to provide our daughters and these opportunities and are in full support of the proposed plans to bolster the playground area at Cherry Lawn. From my professional perspective, there is a plethora of research supporting outdoor play for children. A position statement stemming from a diverse cross-sectional group of partners, stakeholders, and rigorous research that endorses access to active play in nature and outdoors as essential for a healthy child development, and goes on to recommend increasing opportunities across all settings, home, school, community, nature for children of all ages, but particularly through age 12. The power of play is crucial to children's adaptive development, promoting wellness across physical, mental, and social and emotional domains, particularly on the other side of the pandemic, which stunted or negatively impacted areas of development for many children. Offering safe and effective opportunities for frequent play and activity is incredibly important and warranted. In summary, the Cherry Lawn Playground proposal aligns with both my personal and professional values, and I strongly endorse and support it. Play, physical activity, and mental health are inextricably linked, and thus positive play opportunities are crucial to helping the children in our Darien community thrive. Sorry, I'm starting to. I just need a gulp of water. Give me a second. The next letter is from Amy Daniels. She's the executive director of the Darien Depot. I am reaching out on behalf of the Depot, Darien's Youth Center, where we primarily serve middle and high school populations, but also host special events for Darien's 4th and 5th graders with ice cream socials and dance parties. In my work at the Depot and as co-chair of the 2023 Youth Survey for Thriving Youth Darien, one thing that's clear to me is that while Darien offers so much for our youth in terms of activities, enrichment, and sports, the unstructured play component in town is lacking. So much so that our high schoolers in last year's Thriving Youth Community Conversation told us, we are so busy keeping up with sports, school, work, and activities. There is no time for us left to be a kid and have fun. It's worth repeating. Our kids are telling us they just don't know how to be kids. Pam, you need to, have to be a kid and have fun. It's worth repeating. Our kids are telling us they don't know how to just be kids and have fun. It's concerning to me and should be concerning to us all, especially in light of the national youth mental health crisis and in the reported mental health of Darien's teens and tweens, with 1 in 4 high schoolers and 1 in 5 middle schoolers reporting persistent sadness, hopelessness, and anxiety. Unstructured fun is at the very heart of why playgrounds exist. An article in Psychology Today titled "Scary and Unstructured Play Builds Resilience in Kids" highlights the importance of getting kids out of their comfort zone. Author Dr. Colton Schreiber writes, climbing trees, jumping off swings, and exploring unfamiliar terrain keeps children right on the line between what they are comfortable doing and what they're a bit afraid of doing. These experiences can sometimes be scary, but they can also be incredibly empowering. As children confront their fears and overcome their challenges, they build confidence and resilience to stressful situations. I had the pleasure to review the plans of the amazing new Cherry Lawn Playground for 5 to 12-year-olds. While the design of the proposed Cherry Lawn Playground might be outside of the comfort zone of some parents with younger children, it offers Darien's 5 through 12 the very things that will make them want to come back and help build resilience. There's so much here. I don't even know where to go. I'll do a couple more, and then I think I'll move to the next slide. We did have some other committee members provide feedback. I am aware of the vociferous objections by a small group of residents who are frankly spreading misinformation to scare those tasked with approving the plans. As I understand it, the primary objection to the proposed plan relates to the height of the main structure in the 5 to 12 playground. Having walked the site with you, John, and the committee and taken measurements of the plan structure, I find the concerns to be completely misplaced. There is no spot in town better suited to an interesting tall structure that will draw in the town's elementary school kids and address the as yet unsatisfied developmental need for vertical challenges. The entire playground is far removed from the road and neighboring homes and is surrounded by mature trees at least 3 times the height of the main structure. It is the perfect location for a truly different piece of equipment and can easily support a structure the height of the one proposed. To appease those concerned, Mr. Hollenbeck said that there might be an opportunity for changing the roof angle, but that's something that we can work on as a committee. I'm going to go to my next slide because I think I've read enough. Delay, that's a question mark. Right now, we have a $100,000 discount from our current vendor, and that is not assured that we're going to get that in the future, especially if you go to another vendor. There's a 6% increase on the equipment at the end of this year. He actually extended the deadline for us, but he has told us he can't extend it further. If we do a rebid, we're subject to other inflation adjustments, possibly increasing labor costs, things like that. It would be great to lock down the ARPA money. Also, the current equipment has, we've already heard, has a lot of wear and tear. Bandwidth. Baker Playground needs to be done also in this time frame in the 24-25, and it hasn't even been started. So doing 2 things at once I don't think that's possible. As you could see, it took us a while to even get here, and we're in terms of the type of work we had to do. So I find that difficult. I'm sorry, my dog's barking. Also, I mean, I think this playground has so many of the great features that we wanted. We're talking about almost 4,000 square feet in pour and play. We have a new patio. We have extended walkways. From accessibility standpoint, there's no playground's going to be outside of McGuan, which is smaller, that's going to have this level of accessibility. Also, you've heard a lot of feedback from our mental health professionals telling us that we do have kids that are in crisis here, and every day we wait, we're kind of, not helping this group of kids that we can be helping. I guess tonight I'm asking my fellow commissioners to affirm the sensitive meeting that was taken on November 15th to support the proposed playground, reaffirming our desire as a commission to address a service deficit that we currently have at Cherry Lawn. I just want to read real quickly the mission of the Darien Parks and Rec Department, which is to nurture active and passive recreational activities within existing town parklands, to maintain clean and attractive facilities, and to adjust and expand both the recreational programs and parklands to meet the recreational requirements of all residents in a cost-effective manner. So I'm going to leave everyone at that. I'm happy to answer. Oh, you know what? Let me just go one more to the timeline real quick, just to go over that so that everybody's ready to talk about that later. We also have to vote on timeline if this gets approved. This would be the second vote about which timeline we'd prefer for doing the playground if we go forward. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I've droned on for far too long. I apologize. Thank you. You could turn it off, I guess, this year. Thank you, Pam.
Yep. Thank you very much, Susan. The amount of work that you've put into this on behalf of the town is really incredible. And I truly appreciate everything you've done. At the same time, working on re-landscaping Pear Tree and the Weed Beach project. So your commitment to the town is almost unparalleled.
Thank you.
So I'd like to open it up for discussion from the commission. I can either go by a hand raise or just go around the group. What do people prefer? Does anybody want to jump in, or want to leave it to me who to call on first? Okay, Mary Louise, you are on mute. Just as a reminder, as people are raising their hand, that we have a lot of people on on the Zoom meeting, and sometimes people speak or come off. Positioning does move, so it may take me a minute sometimes to, see you and locate where you are. So just bear with me on that. Okay, Mary Louise.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. I didn't want to rely on just looking at pictures of this new piece of equipment that seems to be generating most of the concern. So I took the day off from work and drove up to Orange yesterday to visit the site. And I have to tell you that it is very, very big, and it sits in a very, very large park. And to put it into context, the Wolf Park in Orange is about 67 acres. Cherry Lawn, by comparison, is only 27, considerably smaller. And I think it is the X-Gen piece of equipment is out of scale, completely out of scale for Cherry Lawn. That's my number one objection. Secondly, it's my understanding that the Working Playground Committee voted 5-4 against the X-Gen piece of equipment and requested more time to come up with an alternative piece of equipment. We all recognize the amount of time and effort that they have spent to date working on this playground. And I think we owe them the respect to give them the extra time they need to come up with an alternative piece of equipment. Finally, while I was there, I decided, well, I might as well try to climb this piece of equipment myself. So as you've heard, there are 2 towers, each one 28 feet tall and connected by 2 different levels. One side of the tower has stairs leading to the first level. So I decided to take the stairs, which bring you to the first level, which is approximately 10 feet off the ground. That section is not enclosed the way the upper section is enclosed. And there are spaces where a small person could easily fall through. What really concerned me was in walking down at the bottom of the structure, you find 3 pieces of equipment that are clearly intended to interest a 3, 4, or 5-year-old. I speak specifically regarding a bell, which is about 1.5 feet off the ground, which clearly a 3 or 4-year-old might enjoy ringing, but certainly a 10, 11, or 12-year-old is not interested. There are also amusement park mirrors placed at the bottom, which would, I think, intrigue a younger child, would be of no interest to someone older. And finally, there were abacuses, basically, which you could push up, and when they fell down, they made an interesting sound. I mention this because this is at the base of this X-Gen structure, which would entice a young child to come over and be right there. And I think the next thing that they would want to do is climb those steps, which would present a potential safety problem. If you go up, and in order to reach the next level, you have to go hand over hand, which I was not about to do myself the other day. So these are primarily the reasons I would vote against this. And I think, Susan, you're somewhat disingenuous in terms of reading all of the letters which were in support of this project, not the project per se, but this particular piece of equipment. When I too read the letters, and there were as many negative ones as there were positive. So that's where I'm coming from.
Lori, may I address one thing?
Yes, and then we'll go to Chris Taylor.
Right. I just want to correct you, Mary Louise. Orange, Connecticut is not the same proposal as our proposal. Yes, the two towers are the same, but nothing around that of all their extra things are not the same as ours. So
So
only
The
towers
three
going up and
things at the
across,
base of the piece,
not the same proposal as ours.
right, but the height of the X-Gen is the same.
The height is the same, the ceiling is the same, and the deck is the same, but not anything around it. They have a much bigger park for a lot more amenities than we could include. Thank you.
Chris Taylor.
Yep. Thank you, Lori. And Mary Louise, thank you very much for making the trip up. Not only had I made the trip up myself prior to our November 15th meeting with my 9-year-old, and yes, the Fred Wolf Park is it's unique, certainly. I will also tell you that due to the amount of feedback that I have received, up to and including taking phone calls during my daughter's 11th birthday dinner yesterday and text messages throughout the day, I decided once again today to take another drive back up. And I got there 4:45, right when the sun was setting. And there were 2 families, 2 mothers, 4 boys that were between 9 and 11, all playing through. Now, I didn't want to be too strange because I was just a single man walking into a playground almost after dark. So they, came over to me, hey, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just here. Once again, I want to look at this. I said, from the town of Darien, I'm on the Parks and Commission, and we are discussing tonight this exact same, solution. And they had said to me at that point, our kids love it. And then all 4 boys who were playing all over the place said, we love this. One of the mothers was wearing a 6-month-old in a baby Bjorn. And she said, I just climbed up and went through the whole thing with her. She said, I love the fact that there's no chance these kids are getting out. They didn't have any issues. They said, if I could tell your town to do one thing different, it would be amazing if we get 2 things. One, shade, which we've already discussed, could potentially happen. And then they said the other one would be if you guys could put lighting in at your playgrounds, because we'd like to keep our kids out here even later if possible. So I'm just saying, yes, the size and scope may initially look different. I've taken the time. I've driven back and forth, up and down Brookside, looking at, where the current structure is, seeing the renderings of what the structure looks like. And I'm saying that I think all we're discussing is window dressing above that 14-foot level. Everything above that to the 28 is just, it's not usable for children. So there's no safety issues there. If anything, it was amazing when I was watching the kids run back and forth, and the moms were completely fine with all of it today. And I got to hear that and see that. And I saw it with my own child. So for those reasons, this is, I am not necessarily certain what it is that we're voting on for this evening in terms of the sense of the meeting versus actually moving forward on this. But I have to be in favor of moving forward on this.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Anybody want to raise their hand and go next, or shall I just call on somebody? Amy, you want to go? Oh, I saw Jim go up, but Amy, you want to go, or you want Jim to go? Amy? Getting response. Okay. Jim, why don't you go ahead then?
Right. Yeah, I'll just jump in. I was not able to make the trek up there. So thank you, Mary Louise and Chris, for going up there and actually providing the feedback that you guys provided based on actually seeing the site. But I did go through the pictures multiple times, and I shared the deck that we had with the pictures with many people here in town who have kids. 2 words kept coming back: exciting, and it looks great. And I always felt the same way, but I didn't want to be the one to be saying that, but I was happy to hear that people with young children felt that way. Also, the ones who have kids below 5 said, look, it's on the parents to be watching these kids that they're not going onto these things where it's clearly says that they should not be under 5 climbing on these things. I mean, it is the onus of the parents to watch these children. My concern was always about safety. Although the structure may be larger than some would like, it is enclosed on both sides and in the middle. So I think that the new playground would be a positive addition and something that children will find both challenging and fun. So I vote in favor of it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Sorry.
Lori, I'd go if you, I don't know if you can see me.
Yes,
Or I
sorry,
don't-
I'm
or-
sorry.
yes,
People have
fine.
literally just shifted all. I saw Amy and I've lost her. I saw Janet and I've lost her. So yeah, I see you, Cara. So please.
Lovely. And
please.
I finally figured out how to turn my video on and to do the meeting from my phone. So let me just jump in again with thank yous. Mary Louise and Chris, you both had Herculean efforts to get up and see the structure, and Mary Louise taking a day off from work and is so laudable. So thank you. And Jim, I appreciate all your efforts to get feedback within town. I wanted to say a couple of things sort of in no particular order, but mostly I'm reminded of this line from the movie Pitch Perfect, where one of the characters says something like, not liking movies is like not liking puppies. And I think the same could be said about playgrounds. I think we would be really hard pressed to find anybody in our town or probably on the planet who doesn't like playgrounds. I'm completely confident we all see the immense benefit and the value in playgrounds. So I don't think there's any disagreement there. I was on the board of Trust for Public Land for many years, and one of our core missions was designing and building playgrounds. We did it throughout the country. We've done 250 playgrounds in Manhattan. So I appreciate the process and the value, and I'm thrilled that our town devoted so much of our ARPA funds towards the playgrounds. I think I want to just echo a few things that Mary Louise said. I think my concern is primarily around process here. And there were 9 members of the working group who spent, as Susan pointed out, a lot of time, more than any other committee on this. And over the past couple of months, hearing that 5 out of 9 of them don't support the X-Gen is something I'm having trouble reconciling. And ideally, I think that would have been resolved before the presentation. But at a minimum, I think that the working group should have been invited to this and other presentations and had an opportunity to share their point of view rather than sort of filtering their comments selectively. When I went through the emails that I received today, there were 44 signatures against the project and 22 for. And I think we should have had an opportunity to read, I'm sure everybody did read them, but reading all the pro emails and not representing the contrarian point of view, I think does a disservice to our volunteers. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Cara. Kathy.
So I want to first thank everyone who went up actually today and take time off work and from their schedule to actually do that. That's a big deal. And really appreciate all the commitment of everyone on the committee, including Susan, for all the time they put in. I did want to respond to the fact that about the vote of the playground committee. The playground committee is an advisory committee. And the reason I want to say that is that it isn't a committee that votes. I asked a specific question to make sure that we were following process. And it is an advisory committee, but there are experts on this call, which is Pam, as well as the playground vendor, who really are an expert on what type of playground we should have. Unfortunately, I think a lot of different issues got sort of controverted towards the end of the playground committee, where, you know, people suddenly changed their mind. They suddenly thought we could restart all over. And there's a question of time and economy, as well as budget, that needs to be considered as you do that. The other thing I would say is that we have an amazing opportunity to do something quickly to help our youth here right now. We have a town where we have youth mental health issues, and we've heard those comments across the board, especially for this age range. And we have the opportunity to do something quickly to help these kids do creative play and maybe make this next generation more resilient than the one that was just currently in high school and went through the pandemic, where we've had 2 suicides in our high school, more than any other town around us. I really think it is really critical that we don't wait. We don't spend a day not giving the children in these towns the type of playground that could actually help them, move forward, to give them the skills maybe to be more resilient, to learn to take risks, to be better in what they do, and maybe be more creative. I do think that if you spend more time looking at different structures, you'll end up exactly back where you are 6 months to a year from now, where the same people won't agree on the same things, because consensus is just that. At some point, someone needs to make a decision. I personally think this is the right decision. I think it was a very thoughtful process. And I think that we have the opportunity to do something for our kids in a way that would be really helpful. I think the longer we wait, the more issues we'll have with our kids, because there really isn't this type of playground around our town. The other thing is there is a concern for safety across the board at the commission. Every single one of us is concerned about safety. That is one of the foremost things that's top of mind, and no one would want to put any type of playground that was harmful to the kids at Cherry Lawn. Pam Geary will argue with us about safety and tell us very often we're not being safe enough. And so she is at the front lines of telling us that we should be even more safe as we go forward. I know that, I think it's a misnomer to say this is not safe, it's enclosed. Kids need to be challenged in order to learn to take risks. And most playgrounds are of this height today. Our town is not unusual in trying to create something like this. In fact, we're already behind. I would vote for this playground. I appreciate everyone's comments, though. I think it is a great sign that so many people care about our town and care about this park as well.
Thank you, Kathy. Janet, I see you now. I lost you for a while and now I see you. Give you the floor.
Sure. First of all, thank you for everyone's comments, and as well as, all the residents who have written the commission. I was able to get through every last email prior to the meeting, and, really thought through what everyone has written in about and has expressed, so many different views, but, as I know, Susan read, on the meeting earlier, some of the letters that were in support, but I also have read every single letter that were in objection to the proposed design. First of all, I do feel that seems to be some misinformation out there. I think may have been mentioned that the highest point a child can actually stand on is at most 14 feet. And because the mesh caging has such small holes, it's not something that I haven't been to Orange, but I have really scrutinized the design and the photos and the design documents in details, just because I was very curious myself. The holes are so small. It's also not the elevated area that goes up to 28 feet. It's not something that a child could actually grab onto to further elevate themselves. And I think that is something I personally was very curious about. And I had those conversations with my fellow mom friends, who naturally have children around the same ages of mine. And I'll say, I also do happen to have children, 4 of them, in the target age range for this particular playground design. I have children from ages 6, 8, 10, and 11. And, we used to spend a lot more time at the playgrounds, and like everyone's, I think Chris and Susan and other letter writers had mentioned, my 10 and 11-year-olds have aged out of a lot of the playgrounds in town. But interestingly, I feel like until when the McGuan Field playground was put in recently, they wouldn't ask to go there, but once we get there, they also didn't want to leave. So, my 6 and 8-year-olds love the playgrounds, and we go there, as much as we possibly can. But I just want to make a point here in that I know this town, a lot of comments I've read from the letters express that older elementary school age children don't go to the playgrounds. They don't use it. There's no use case for that age group. And I just don't think that is accurate, and I'm not just going by my own use case. I think I talked to a lot of moms. I polled like 9 moms, about this particular design. And, we talked about the height. We talked about whether that mesh, caging is fully enclosed, where the opening is, what's the drop from the opening to the next level down. It doesn't go all the way to the ground, if that was people's concern, like the one in McGuan. I just feel that, of course, we all appreciate the safety concerns that parents have been in, other committee members have raised. That is our number one priority. But, the highest you can climb is 14 feet. And my older kids really, really just love the one at McGuan so much that we spent a lot of time there. I think longer than they would have even expected. And they didn't want to leave. And, I think this has been mentioned before, and everyone is aware of, the growing mental health crisis facing teens and preteens after the pandemic. Overwhelming research shows increased use of like social media, especially during the lockdowns, was the number one culprit. But, not far behind it is also this like overscheduling and like achievement culture, especially pretty rampant in like affluent towns like ours. Like 3 of my 4 kids play like 2 travel sports at least. And they also like ice hockey is one of them, which is a huge time commitment. But because of that, I always make sure to take my kids to the playgrounds or the trails, or Selleck's Woods for unstructured playtime when they're not at practice or like games, because I think they desperately need that, where they're not giving instruction. They're not on, any kind of screens or playing anything that is overstimulating. And they just really enjoy it so much. And even my 11-year-old, who doesn't ask to go to the playground anymore, didn't want to leave McGuan, and that's a smaller playscape than the one that's being proposed. And I just want to put it out there that I think it's actually really important that the commission do consider children that are, in that sort of sweet spot, between like ages of like 8 and 11. I think it's easy to dismiss them as kids who don't use the playgrounds, but they can use the playgrounds, and we want them to use the playgrounds if it can keep them entertained and give them that sense of adventure, while keeping them safe. And I really feel that strongly that this playground design can do that for them and attract them and have, those summer days where kids just spend hours there. And, and from a safety standpoint, every playground has potential to, have a fall or have some type of injury. Even the current playground at Cherry Lawn, I'm aware of, that zip line that like kids have fallen off that and have like broken their arms. So with that, all of that in mind, I am a proponent of this design, and I just want everyone who's listening or who may be watching this later and who feel strongly about opposing the design to just maybe think of it in that context.
Thank you, Janet, very much. Amy, are you in there? I'm hearing something garbled, but I don't. Oh, there you are. Now you've moved. Okay. Oh, where'd she go? I keep losing her. Does anybody see Amy?
Yeah, Amy, you're muted.
And I can't see her now. She popped up and then she disappeared.
Hello.
There you are. Okay. Got you. Got you.
Okay, I apologize. I understand that you called on me earlier,
Yeah.
and I was muted and couldn't get there. I don't know why I'm having issues. I
No
do this
worries. No
all day
worries.
long. I also have laryngitis. So I of course join my fellow commissioners in thanking everybody for the time that they've spent on this issue. The research that's been done, I greatly appreciate it. We've all had so many phone calls and so many emails. And the fact that we take time on this commission to listen to public comment and read the emails carefully and really chew up the issues, I think speaks really well of the commission and our efforts to really get this right. We may not always agree with each other, but at the end of the day, I think we really look carefully at each instance. And I'm really proud to be on a commission that does that. So this one is a tough one, I have found, because the comments have been equally balanced. And there are important perspectives. I'm sure, when we look to these letters, Susan, you did read a lot of pro letters. And when you look to, whether it was 40 or 20 before or not, certainly more people could write, and those scales could be tipped. They could be tipped even more in favor. They could be tipped even more not in favor. But the thing that struck me was that the comments were all pretty consistent on both sides. So, which makes this even more difficult. So some of the comments were, the playground is already too busy. And then you'd read two more letters that said, this is a great opportunity to attract more older children. And the structure's overwhelming for the space. The XGen works in the space. The XGen is not safe. All playgrounds can't be foolproof safe. There are dangerous parking and driving issues. This is why we didn't add pickleball lines to the tennis courts, because we knew we would have added more people coming to the park for the new playground. So in terms of all those comments and listening to my fellow commissioners who have spoken, I completely understand and appreciate all the perspectives. And I heartily agree with Kara that, who doesn't like a playground? Of course, everybody is for a playground. And I don't have the knowledge base to really resolve these points or talk about the details associated with safety, because I'm not a playground expert. So in that instance, I do look to Susan and Pam and the advisory committee to make recommendations to us that we can really understand and rely on. So I am uncomfortable with the fact that the majority of the advisory committee is not able to support what I understand is this one piece of equipment. I think we're basically 90% there. We have a lot of other pieces of equipment that have been approved and everybody feels good about. I think it's just this one X-Gen situation. And so I feel uncomfortable advancing without hearing from those people who are not in support of this particular piece of equipment, so that I can feel like that aspect is more weighted for me to be able to vote as an educated person based on their knowledge. So there's that. And then related, I am interested in the fact that if this does go forward, that and forgive me, I don't think I'm going to remember his name correctly. There's a Mr. Curtis who has written a letter. I've read so many, but I think he's on your committee. And he mentioned that the structure can be lowered by 4 to 5 feet. So I would submit to you all, if this is passed, which I am not in favor of doing, if this is passed, I would like for that to happen. At our last meeting, I think Susan noted that the committee and that she would be willing to do that. So I hope that's still correct. And I do think there has been a lot of discussion about colors as well. And while I am interested in attracting children to the playground, of course, I think if it's built, they'll want to climb on it. And kids climb up on hills and cliffs and trees and all kinds of things that aren't painted yellow and bright blue or whatever. So I would implore you to paint it a color that is in keeping with the look of the park. And while I know that there's some other colors on other pieces of equipment so that it's coordinated, this one does seem to be overwhelming. And so I would look to you to be very careful about that. And Susan, you've indicated that you would be, so that gives me some comfort. So all of this, I guess, I continue to stand where I've always stood. The park is too crowded, and while it is full of life, it is stressed. It's stressed with cars and parking. There just isn't enough room, and I'm worried that this is going to be a fantastic lure for kids, and I'm worried that we'll be a victim of our own success in this regard. So it's going to put more stress on the park, and then we're going to have to turn to, we've built this, now how are we going to make it safe in terms of parking and driving? Well, let's talk about making more parking spaces. Let's talk about, putting down more asphalt, and that would be the wrong direction to go in. And I think that this is opening us up to that as the next step. So if I could split my vote and vote 90% yes for the playground and no for X-Gen, I would really like to do that. My understanding is that I'm not able to do that. It's sort of a all-in vote. So I am going to have to start to side with my fellow commission members who are against this, the several ones that were against this, and vote no. Even though I greatly appreciate all the time and effort that's been put into this, I'm very concerned about the park as a whole, and I think that's how we as commissioners need to look at this, not just as one interest for one particular activity. So there you go. With my terrible laryngitis, I think I've conveyed my my perspective as well as I possibly can tonight. So thanks for bearing with me.
Thanks, Amy. You little squeaky, but you did a great job. Thank you. Pam, I believe we've heard from every commission member. I checked everybody off, so I think we've got everybody. I just would like to give Pam Geary, the opportunity to share her thoughts. As you know, she is our Parks and Rec director. She is a certified Parks and Rec person. She attends national conferences, which the town pays for her to attend, meets with playground vendors for professionals. She and I believe Cassie Schull, who is one of our staff members, recently went to another conference regarding playgrounds, got information on color trends and color choices and how that impacts, studies how that impacts usage, et cetera. So I did want to give Pam a chance to weigh in as a professional.
Well, first of all, I do want to clear up another misleading piece of information. So the playground working group was not in favor of a 5-4 vote. We had someone brand new that just kind of hopped in that was only there for about 3 weeks. So that was not part of our 9-month. So that was really a 4-4, which meant that's exactly why Susan Daly went to the commission, because we were getting nowhere. So she went to the commission to present to the commission to make sure that we could present to you what was happening. The committee wasn't getting anywhere. No one was going to change their mind. And I want to make sure that that's on the floor. So.
Okay, Pam, but one more thing, I'm going to interrupt you. Is it correct, and it is reflected in the minutes on the town website, that when the committee entertained proposals from the various vendors who bid, the vendors weren't just chosen as vendors, they were chosen as the vendor with a proposed design?
Correct.
So we select the vendor and the design, and this vendor with this design, with this piece of equipment, was selected unanimously by the working committee on October, I believe it was 5th.
That's correct.
So that was a unanimous
in-person meeting.
selection.
It was an in-person meeting at Town Hall. I happened to be only on the phone during that meeting. And it was a unanimous vote to go with Creative Recreation with this current proposal. And at that point, it just kind of started to unwind.
Okay. And then subsequently, things morphed.
Yes.
But that was the original decision of the committee. Amy, I saw you had your hands up, and then we'll go back to Pam. Amy, you're on mute.
Give me the
There you are.
abandonment. Thank you. So just to clarify that just a speck further, because I do think that's a confusion point here. So when I understand that the committee voted for the vendor and the designs there, did the committee specifically vote for this X-Gen piece of equipment? Did they give a positive majority yes vote?
Absolutely.
For X-Gen.
Absolutely. Hands
Absolutely.
down.
And I was there as well. So absolutely.
Okay, well, that's not what I've understood. So I think that's really important that that has been clarified, and that now we understand that the committee, okay, I see people shaking their heads. So I don't know.
No, that particular vote was absolutely true. I said it started to unwind after that. Then people started to getting cold feet and they were changing their minds. But on that particular day, that vendor had one proposal. That was the X-Gen, and everybody was super excited about it. It was different. It was edgy. We were looking for something different than what Creative Recreation first proposed, which was too much like McGuan. So when he put in a different design, I mean, it was overwhelming how excited people were about this design. Did they change? Yes. But were we 4-4? Yes. So that's why Susan went to the commission and said, look, I need help here. I need help. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere because it's divided. So this is where the Park and Recreation Commission comes in.
Sorry, I don't know if I'm muted or not, and I don't know how to raise my hand. Sorry.
Yeah, we're just taking discussion from the commission. Thank you.
Okay, I think that there is confusion on that, and I think that there are other people who would like to speak to that confusion. I don't have the knowledge to be able to. So I guess that's up to Lori to, perhaps Gina, I don't know what she wants to offer, but I think that's up to Lori to see whether these other people can make comment. But I do think it's important to clarify that
She
particular.
wasn't at that meeting in October. Amy, she joined after that meeting, just to be clear. And what happened was we did have a unanimous on that. In fact, this committee asked them for something more edgy and interesting. Because if you want to go into my Google Doc, it's probably the designs they were looking at were pretty edgy, because this committee decided they wanted to do something different to bring back that group of kids that haven't been visiting the park that we've lost. So we chose that design based on that. And slowly after that, a text chain was started, unauthorized by me, of the different pictures. And I said, wow, and it started flying. And I actually have all those pictures in a Google photo album that I mentioned already. And there's feedback about that. And it's recorded where members started going up, and the feelings were a little mixed. And some people were like, talked about it being tall. And, we had one member, her child was younger, and I get that. And that's what happened. And, you saw people getting nervous about it. And in fact, one committee member talked about potential backlash when we were talking about it. And later on said to me, oh, we should do something like anonymous. And I could see people were starting to get nervous. And honestly, in retrospect, the way I organized this committee is that we kind of let everybody filter in. We weren't as deliberate as, just because it's hard to get feedback from volunteers. You know how that works. And I saw this as an advisory group as a way of getting feedback. So we had originally started trying to get people from the different school districts, but later on I could see that the committee was skewing towards people with younger children, because we lost some of the people with older children. It just changes. And
okay, well, thanks for explaining that. I think that's helpful to give us clarity.
So in terms of is it balanced for target age group, I don't think it is. Is it balanced for people that have experience, that might not be so. They were very nervous because we addressed this at a meeting and actually had a bunch of discussions between that October vote and talked about their concerns. I said, let's go over what are the things. We talked about all the things we did today. We were with the vendor. I worked on everything, and I explained to them at the end of the day, we have to think about all the users, and that the mandate was 5 to 12. Well, anyway, I slowly watched people start to go and choose designs that honestly were geared towards very young children. And I got nervous when that started happening. So I said to Pam, we need to figure out what does they don't feel like this broad mandate like the people in the commission do, because we serve a broader mandate. There are people, young kids, fear, there's all these things that are swirling in people's heads. So that's when I came to the commission. I gave you the report, which I had told them I would do, and to get your feedback. And I did get your feedback. Well, different feedback. And that's what happened. I just saw behind the scenes, a lot of people were talking about things and text chains. And I tried to keep everything transparent. I tried to respond to all the concerns. They're on the Google Doc. That's, accessible if people ever want to see it. It's obviously foilable. So
I don't think people are suggesting that you're not. I think something happened in between Pam saying unanimous, and then something happened, and I'm just the only thing I can think of is there were some incidents at McGuan that maybe brought up safety concerns, and maybe made. I know there was a lot of concern on the committee that I've heard of about safety instances at McGuan, and the fact that this vendor had supplied that equipment. So perhaps that's where it is. I just want to flesh this part out so that since we are being televised and people are listening, that we are fully transparent in this issue. If you guys feel comfortable with it, I understand you're my commission members, and I haven't heard from the committee in this meeting, so I'm not able to really discuss that. It's just hearsay through emails, etc. So I just wanted to raise that. Maybe that's where the XGen started to get derailed, was because it was linked to that playground. But anyway, okay.
Pam, do you want to address the McGuan thing? I mean,
I can't speak to that. I'm guessing that that's what happened. Was there an incident at McGuan? Yes. But are there incidences every play you only have? Yes. You know, kids get hurt. Cherry Lawn, we've had like, I forget who mentioned it, somebody about the zip line. Yeah, we've had broken arms, we've had instances. And so that to me is unrelated to this, because McGuan is safe. This new design is safe. Baker's safe. Weed Beach is safe. We won't put in unsafe playgrounds. The only
No,
thing that's
I
unsafe-
understand that. And I
It was
look
an
to you
accident,
guys
Amy. It
to
was
be
unfortunate.
professional and do that and give us comfort in that. I just wanted to be open and transparent in our
Oh, yeah.
discussion here so that we could flush out all the issues that have been bubbling up through various ways.
Kathy?
there was, there was an accident, and we didn't obviously wouldn't hope for something like that to happen, but there was an accident. So it's a playground, and that part of the unit is rated for 5 to 12, and I believe the child might have been under that. I don't know all the details because I wasn't there and I never got a full report.
Yeah.
But I
For
do
the
know-
police report, the child had just turned 4.
And I think Kathy might want to say something. Sorry, I don't want to.
I think there are risks with any playground, and that's one of the things we want the kids to take, right? So we want them to take risks, we want them to climb, we want them to experience, we want them to grow, but we also need parental supervision. And parental supervision is critical for any playground. And if you are on a play set that's 5 to 12 and your child is 3, you should be there with them. Maybe you should climb up with them. And those are things that, need to occur. We have signs at McGuan now to make sure that parents know they're supposed to supervise their kids and just remind them of that. But that's part of it all. And I think the safety issue at McGuan, if I remember correctly, had to deal with the fact, sometimes like any parent, you look away, your kid runs and gets on something. And, we just have to watch our kids, whether it's a parent or a babysitter or a nanny, but our kids need to make sure that they're on the appropriate equipment as well.
Okay, Chris Taylor.
So I just, Lori, would like to hear from you as the last commission member, and then like to see if we move forward.
Yep.
How we're gonna vote.
Okay, I will do that. I just didn't know if there was anything else that Pam wanted to add. She started sort of as our professional. And I just want to make sure that you got to finish because we did get sidetracked with some questions first. And it was good discussion. It was important that we did that.
I'll be very quick. I've been in it for 27 years. I've mentioned this before. I think the committee did a great job. It was unfortunate that wasn't unanimous in the end. But I think together we have an exciting proposal. And, I'm relying on the commission to make the final decision. Thank you.
Okay. Cara, did I see your hand go back up or no?
I did, but I also appreciate Chris's comment and the time, and I would repeat my earlier comment that I wish that the working group had been invited into the meetings, included in the presentation, given an opportunity to speak. And that to me would have felt like we were meeting the bar for transparency and would have helped resolve the he said, she said, was it a majority, not a majority? So anyway, but enough said on that point.
Okay. I've listened to everybody very careful at this and previous meetings, read all the materials, watch back the meetings, spoken to many, many people on this, again, many, many phone calls, read every letter, listened to the concerns, from the community that we've received. And, the concerns and I do think that Susan tried to summarize them because the many letters we read in oppositions were fairly consistent that had to do with size, scale, aesthetics, and then also safety, which I believe we've talked about quite a bit tonight. But but many of the letters, I just kind of go through and try to check off. I made little checklists of, what were the themes there. It seemed to get back to size and scale, and whether this fits in Cherry Lawn Park. So, I've certainly given that, a lot of consideration. I believe that there is consensus that, we agreed as a community that it was time to, rebuild the Cherry Lawn Playground. I don't think there is any debate there. And we were awarded money out of the ARPA funds to do this and 2 other playgrounds, but definitely Cherry Lawn was on the list to do. I also believe there was agreement that the charge and plan was to rebuild both the 2 to 5 and the 5 to 12 playground. And there really doesn't seem to be any discussion about the 2 to 5 playground, the plans for that or whatever. All of discussion is definitely, centralizing around, the 5 to 12 playground and sort of the look and the feel. And something we've certainly heard is, will those children come? Will the older children come or not? There were definitely letters who said, oh, kids are busy with sports, they won't have the time or whatever. So that's definitely a consideration. Will they come? And if they're not going to playgrounds, why aren't they going to playgrounds? And I think we heard a lot of good discussion around that tonight. We did get, I found very interesting, particularly the information that we got from the executive director of the depot. I feel that, is an extremely credible source of an individual who knows what's going on with our youth in town and our young youth and what they need. And, her comments about, the lack of free play amenities, the severe lack to me really did strike a chord. Janet's comments certainly with children in that age category, Chris's that, if we built something really fun for them, they would come. I have an 8.5-year-old granddaughter. They don't live locally. But certainly have had the opportunity where they live to go to them at a very high challenge playground, much more high challenge and much higher than this, and watch them and many other children enjoy those playgrounds. So I have at least had an opportunity to witness personally that the children, 8 and older still really do enjoy that. So, when I think about if we've agreed as a community that we want to rebuild this playground, that it's time to rebuild this playground, and that we do want to provide amenities for the 5 to 12-year-old age group and support their needs, which we've heard a lot about the mental health, the need for exercise, all of those things, then where I come out on is then, who are we building the playground for then? Are we building it for the adult users of the park and sort of their, the aesthetics, or are we really building it for the children, to build something for them that they will enjoy, that they'll find exciting, that the colors, while not going outrageously bright, will appeal to them. And, the information we've gotten, that Pam and Cassie have gotten through the seminars they attend, whatever, all biased towards this is what will attract children. So, really thinking, in terms of, we're building a playground. Are we building it for the adults? Or are we building it for the children? And in the end, we are building it for the children. Certainly we had, letters saying that, this is not a good use of taxpayer money. Part of me says is to spend $500,000 to build a playground that's not going to be as appealing to children. Is that a good use of taxpayer money? Cassie Scholl, who's one of Pam's staff members, has child in this age cohort. She showed him the pictures of the various different cover colors, said, we're thinking about the brown. And his comment was, it seems like they don't like children. So, in the end, I really think about if we're doing this for, the children, that, I do support it. I do support it. So that is where I am. Okay, so are we ready? I think we've had enough discussion. Any last comments from our commission members? Oh, okay. Chris Taylor, I see a hand. You're on mute still.
Sorry. So, just one question.
Yes.
Point 3 of our agenda says that we're going to be voting on the sense of the meeting taken, or are we going to be voting on moving forward with this? I need
Well,
to
effectively, we'll be moving forward and taking this. We did take a sense of the meeting vote using a small v at our last regular meeting where the majority of the vote was to proceed. I have, and I should mention this, I have discussed this project with our first selectman a number of times at this point. And he is in support of the project. He's reviewed the materials. He's gotten the pro and con letters. You know, he has certainly talked to himself, fielded phone calls and whatever. He does support the project, but what he did ask is that we come back because it was a sense of the meeting, and he did ask for us to take a formal vote to effectively affirm the sense of the meeting last week. He just felt from a process standpoint that it was important that it was a formal vote. So
affirmative vote today would mean that we are in favor of proceeding with the plans that Susan has laid out.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for asking the question. Okay. So
Also have to vote, we have to vote on the timing too.
we can also then vote on the timing, but let's make sure that, you know, we have the votes to proceed, and then we can have a discussion on the timing. Okay.
Motion to proceed on a vote.
Okay. Motion to proceed on a vote, or a motion to proceed with the playground, which, Chris?
Motion to proceed on point number 3, the vote about the playground.
You don't need a motion to
second-
do it.
second.
We need a motion to proceed with the Cherry Lawn Playground renovation as presented by the chair of the playground committee.
And I make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Second? Kathy? Okay, in favor? And we do need to read it out because we're on Zoom. That's Susan, Lori, Kathy, Jim, Janet, Chris. Do I have everybody? Again, because you guys move around. Okay, thank you. Okay, opposed? See Amy, Mary Louise, Cara, I can't see if you have an arm.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay,
please.
okay, I couldn't see. I'm only getting the shoulders in, so I couldn't see where your arms were. Okay, and then Cara abstains. Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody. This has been a good, robust discussion. I know that you all have done a lot of work fielding, you know, many, you know, phone calls, emails, conversations, you know, through town, reading many, many letters on a very short amount of time. So I thank everybody for doing this. Okay. Okay. Based on that, we need to determine timing. There's a few timing options. Susan, do you want to run through that?
Yes, there are 2 timing options, and the idea would be to close down that area and do both playgrounds at once, including the patio that we hope to build. They both have pluses and minuses. I mean, I think when I was talking to the committee, they wanted to make sure that, you know, we considered the users, especially while school was open. The preschool users, I should say. So that's their input for that. They did say to leave the vote to you guys because you're the commission. Pam and I talked about it and I guess the vendor and also said that the Memorial Day opening option was a solid one because it would allow our children to play with it for longer during the high season, I would say. Because March to May, it kind of gets very, you know how it is. Winter seems to stay longer than usual, and fall seems to, you know, stay warmer than usual. So I'm, you know, I like having that option of getting more time and use out of it, especially during the summer when there's no school for the preschoolers or the school children. So I was leaning towards a Memorial Day myself, and I feel like, you know, if we can get the equipment in and do all that rough stuff, it'll be easier to, you know, when the park isn't have a lot of people there. Because even if we do it later in the summer, people might be using the park in warmer weather. So that's a consideration.
I agree with you, Susan. I think that the sooner the better. Why not take advantage of the summer and have the kids use it during the summer instead of building it at the end of the summer and it sits there all winter unused. So yeah, let's go with it. If we can do it starting Memorial Day, let's go for it.
Susan, can we just talk through what the concern was about doing it during the school year, that the preschool kids, right?
Okay, sure. They said
discuss.
that during the summer, they could go to the playgrounds at the public schools, at the elementary schools. And that would be another avenue, place to kind of have our preschool users use. So that would be another option. Go ahead, Chris.
Only comment I would have, since we're going to be looking for we're looking for private donations, correct? For
We're doing a brick campaign, and we've already started organizing it, and that's all primarily done online now. When we did for Playground by the Sound, I got to tell you, it almost killed all of us because we had to hand read all this bad handwriting on paper, and now all of that is done through a website. And what you do is you input everything, you pay for it online, and it zoops. And the vendor we're looking at says it's a three-week timeline thing. And John said it would be May 1st that he would need the bricks to do, because the patio is the last thing, kind of like any project, landscaping's last or hardscape. So he said May 1st to us. It is aggressive. I'm all about that. But I feel like keeping a longer fundraising campaign isn't going to necessarily help, because I find that people just say, oh yeah, I'll do that in like a few weeks. So we're going to try to create a sense of urgency by having like the first X number of people that buy a brick, they can get it at a discounted price just to get excitement going. But I think that I'm pretty optimistic that we can raise that, because we do have a lot of families that want to do that type of thing to memorial or recognize their children at the playground.
But it wouldn't affect the earlier start date.
Not from what I can see. I mean, if the problem is now it's been hard because originally our timeline to finish this part was much earlier, and the idea was to originally sell bricks right before Christmas and have it be, wow, instead of buying your kid a toy that breaks, why don't you honor them on this playground and create a accessible patio. But obviously that idea is going to be a little challenging now. I mean, maybe, but we might need to get some approvals. So we could preview it and socialize it too. But I mean, it's also a great opportunity. Our vendor has already said that what he does for all his designs is that he does almost like a 3D tour, like what they do for realtors, where they walk through the whole playground, and it's a video, and we could have a QR code when we start, with the banner, for the playground and also the brick campaign. So it's serves two purposes. So it's it socializes something that we know is dramatically different, and to create excitement for the project itself. So something that we want to do anyway.
If it doesn't delay it in any way, I would suggest that we move towards the sooner start date than the later.
Okay.
Susan, how comfortable are you that gives you enough time? And if, what's the backup plan?
In terms of the brick campaign?
Yes.
I'm pretty comfortable with it, only because I feel like, I don't think more time's going to help. Honestly, I don't. I think if people are going to make the donation and do the brick thing, it's so much easier now. Like when we did it again for Playground by the Sound, everything had to be hand inputted, and then people were thinking about what they were writing on a piece of paper, and now it's all going to be online, and it's going to shoot to another computer. We had a lot of errors, to be honest with you, for Playground by the Sound, because it was all on paper, and now we're going to hopefully alleviate that by doing it all, with designs that are proofed by a computer and the person that's making the donation. But my hope is that it won't do it. I mean, we talked about doing a deadline of the beginning of the playground, deconstruction. That would be the deadline for the brick campaign. Pam, what do you think? I know we're going to use her website, and also one of our moms that was on the committee has a really active social media site that we can kind of put it out in public. And Pam, as usual, has her great town mailing lists. And
right. With our website, it'll go extremely fast. I think people will be very, very interested in this. Just like we see our programs fill up so fast, I think that this is going to be a very a popular demand for the brick campaign.
What would the brick prices be, Susan?
We looked at, funny, when we did it for Playground by the Sound, it was 125 for the smallest brick, but we're thinking possibly 250 as the bottom or something like that. We just want, part of it is we also want to make it accessible, because we do want people to feel like they've been included in this great event and great project. And so what we talked about is lowering it slightly for people that sign up faster. And then we're also going to have like bigger bricks, which are the 8x8s. You see that right now. We're basically emulating we're not removing the old bricks that are already there. We're honoring it. We're putting in the same 4x8s and the 8x8s.
Lori, can I interrupt? I'm sorry, but I set this meeting at 2 hours and I'm getting concerned. I don't know what will happen with Zoom, but it's 9:24. So I just let you know.
Okay. Thank
Any
you.
other feedback?
We can discuss that in next week's meeting.
Yep. Amy?
We've sort of spilled into a patio discussion. I don't know. Have we seen where you're laying out? Are we voting on whether you're doing a patio now? Or what is this discussion?
That was part of the plan we discussed last time. So Amy, it's right now the walkway ends kind of in the middle of nowhere and doesn't go all the way to the playgrounds. So it's an extension of that. Also, there's no access between the two playgrounds that is ADA. So we're going to do a little mini patio there and not on the tree roots. No trees are going to be removed. It's just to have a walkway from playground to playground from the street, and then a little bit of a wider area closer to the playground. We're going to lay that out. Nothing, right on site once everything's done. So we could see where tree roots are. We're not going to interfere with anything that's there.
Okay, so we're not voting on this right now. We're going to talk about it at the next meeting in more detail, right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It was just, it got into the timing of the playground discussion in that, we want to make sure we've raised all of the money we need to do the patio. So it was a question of, do we have the time to do the fundraising, if we were to do an earlier start?
Okay, great. We're just going to see more details on that though. Okay.
Yeah. But the start issue really gets down to if we do it sort of late, winter, early spring, the playground is closed and, during the day, school playgrounds aren't available anymore to preschool children or private school children who may have different vacations. So is it better to do that and then wait and deconstruct the playground in the summer when, sort of July, August, some people are away, but there are people here. So it's.
Right. I see.
There are trade-offs to all the decisions.
Well, I agree with you. We can delve into this more next week.
So are folks saying they want to think more about the timing and not vote on that this evening? Susan, we don't have to decide on that, correct? Pam?
Does John need to know, when does he need to know about the timing?
I would think we'd like to put the vote in tonight.
Tonight, could we do it at our
Yes.
meeting?
We're here.
We're here. I think let's vote on
We
it.
are here, but we are going to be also here next week, Chris. So if we could just give us a little pause and not clump this all in at once. We've been through a lot. Let's just take a breath.
We can extend the patio, Amy, that you're worried about. We can talk about that next week. This is just about the start of when we want to either have the kids be able to play with it on Memorial Day and through the summer, or construction through the summer and they get to play on it in Labor Day.
Okay, as long as we're going to talk about the patio in depth
Sure.
next
Okay.
week.
Okay, but Pam, you're going to need time to get all of the paperwork and the purchase orders and everything together. And we do have our regular meeting a week from tonight. So while you're doing all of that, if people just want to noodle on the two time periods, is that a big problem?
I think we should vote tonight. That's fine.
Okay.
It's the holidays. We don't know what's going to come up. You're all here and we could talk about the patio next week.
My objection is not about the timing. It's about the patio.
Okay. So people, I'm hearing people want to go ahead and vote on the timing. Okay. So Chris, do you want to make a motion on what?
I'd like to make a motion to vote on the timing of the start of construction on Cherry Lawn.
Okay. And for what time period, Chris?
I would like to make the motion for the earlier start date.
Okay. Second? Kathy? Okay, all in favor? Okay, it looks like that's what people want. Okay, opposed? Do I see opposed? Sure. Okay, so I want to make sure I call that out, because we are in Zoom. So Susan, you were in favor? I was in favor. Mary Louise? You're on mute, Mary Louise.
I will abstain.
Okay. Kathy?
I was in favor.
Okay, Jim Farrell? In favor? Amy?
In
Yeah,
favor.
given that we're proceeding with the playground, I think we should do it as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Chris Taylor?
In favor.
Okay, Cara?
Same, in favor, get it done for the summer. And I don't know if it's too late, but I thought my abstaining from the prior vote was because I wasn't comfortable with the process. But I think just I'm going to clarify, if I can make that a no vote, I would appreciate that.
Okay. Okay. And I don't see Janet. I think she may have dropped. Janet, are you in there?
She dropped.
She
She
dropped.
dropped out.
Okay.
Oh, but she texted me. She
Okay.
said she wants to see us use the playground during the summer. So she's in for early.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay. That concludes our business this evening. I really appreciate everybody's time. I know it's a very busy time of year. So if I can have a motion to adjourn. Jim Farrell. No seconds to adjourn. Amy. Okay. All in favor. And again, just put your hands up so I can, Susan, Lori, Mary Louise, Kathy, Jim. Oh, everybody moved. Amy, Chris, Cara. Okay, I think I got everybody. Okay, hopefully we will see most of you at our regular meeting next week at Town Hall. Pam, is that a wave or you?
No, it's just a wave.
Oh, okay. I know there's a wave or I need to say something. Okay.
Hopefully see everyone Saturday at
And Saturday, yes, yes. Hopefully some of you have volunteered. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be handing out lanterns, and I know Pam has tasked up a lot to do this week to get ready for the big holiday event. So yes, hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. And the weather looks good, Pam.
Lori, thanks for calling this special meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Feel better, Amy.
Thanks. Bye,
Thanks.
everybody. See you next week or Saturday.
All right. Bye-bye.